it's actually worse than you think when you look a little bit deeper into the details here. The average lifespan of a woman is about 84-85 years in Sweden. So if you do the maths, 1 in 8 Swedish women will sadly be raped in her lifetime.
That's just not true. If you read the Central Bureau of Crime Statistics, they say that 42% of the people exposed to sex offenses were exposed between 2 and 9 times. 12% were exposed 10 times or more, meaning that a large part of offenses is happening to the same individuals, which brings the overall number down. And it also gets tricky when you completely ignore demographics, like Peter does, because the risk varies greatly with age groups, ethnicity, location, and living conditions. People who live in big cities are twice as likely to be victimized as people who live in small towns. And second-generation immigrant women are more likely to be victimized than Swedish women. Therefore, you can't speak generally on all women. The way that they did their math here is pretty ridiculous. The 1 in 8 number that they came up with doesn't even apply to a decade. They're talking 1 in 8 over the course of 85 years. And that's assuming that Sweden has the exact same number of rapes every year, which is not how you do statistics. But anyway, they're not talking 1 in 8 during 1 year or even 10 years. They're talking 1 in 8 over 85 years. There's a subtle but important difference there. But in either case, they're even wrong there.
The bombing crisis in Sweden. Why doesn't Angry Foreigner Guy mention anything about this? Last year in Sweden, in 2017, there were 200 explosion attacks.
You do understand that fireworks count as explosives, right? When it comes to hand grenades specifically, there were 21 detonations in all of 2017. And here you are trying to make Sweden sound like Mexico.
Because according to the statistics, Sweden actually rivals Mexico when it comes to hand grenade attacks.
Well, that's funny, because your source says that the part about hand grenades was a mistake and has since been removed. So very nice source critique there.
I am a Swedish citizen. You can see my passport here on the screen. And I've lived most of my life in Sweden. Now, I had to leave Sweden a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago, huh? On Twitter you said that you've lived in the UK for the past 12 years, up until 2016. Then you moved to Sweden briefly, before settling in Norway. On Twitter you complained about being drafted to the Norwegian army. Well, Swedes get conscription letters from the Swedish military, not the Norwegian military. And on your passport it clearly states that you were born in Norway. If that wasn't obvious enough from your Norwegian accent that never seems to disappear. Now, both on Twitter and in your tedious video response, you kept repeating how illegitimate it is of me that I used a far-left website as my source. Hope Not Hate used official records showing how massively in-depth your family is. Hope Not Hate is not the source here. The government is. Hope Not Hate just delivered the sources. And it's funny how in their article they used your own tweets as sources for their claims, but those tweets have since mysteriously disappeared from your Twitter. All of them. There does, however, remain a company registered document which illustrates that your nationality is clearly British. You registered this yourself. Then you changed it to Swedish later on. So it doesn't matter what lies you try to fool people with, because the paper trail that you left speaks against you.
I mean, here's a question for you. Why are you using a far-left group funded by George Soros as a source for your video?
Well, why are you using a socialist newspaper like Aftonbladet for your tweets then? Or a left-wing media like SVT, or Metro, or Nyheter24? Hell, you're even using international leftist media like the New York Times. Shouldn't all of these be illegitimate sources because of their political affiliation? Also, notice how absolutely narcissistic and dishonest this guy really is. Quote, "I have been reporting on this for the past year. Finally, the mainstream media is catching up." You haven't been reporting on anything. You've just been sharing links from the Swedish mainstream media about grenade attacks. Yeah, that's right. This is hardly a taboo topic in Sweden. All of the so-called important journalism Peter has been doing came straight from the mainstream media that he keeps telling you not to trust. Now, I'm sure that you have a Swedish citizenship, but that doesn't mean anything since African migrants get those as well. I've still lived in Sweden much longer than you, and therefore it is complete bullshit of you to base your entire persona on being Swedish. So I had a look at Arbladet Talar YouTube channel, and it seems like he has habit of bullying and harassing people he doesn't like. Don't you bully people who drink soy? Because there's a ton of mockery coming from your direction, and it's for something so trivial as people drinking a different beverage. You even went so far as to make this cringe fest of a video.
What happened to me? Oh, man moves! Oh, my voice! Oh no! Ah, this looks pretty! Ah. I'm feeling stronger already!
Estrogen doesn't make your voice go higher, dude. Are you parodying your own side? Because that's the only way this makes any sense. A grown man made this and thought it was clever. Think about that for a minute. Now see, when you're so fucking bad that this guy is owning your ass, you really need to think about what you're doing with your life.